Hey guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. Welcome to College SportsCast after midnight. Hey guys, welcome back. It is Brad with College SportsCast. I've got John Hammonds here with me tonight. Hammonds has been all over this John Calipari to Arkansas stuff today. He was on it before I was on it, actually. So um, there is a lot seems to be going on, and I'm going to kind of Hammonds. Have you had time to kind of share stuff here a little
Well,
bit, or
tonight
you need
I
a little
was
more time?
told around six o'clock, maybe it might have been before that, around 5:30, that there had been some smoke, as you would call it, with Cal Perry in Arkansas, which you know Cal's done this before, and I thought nothing of it because he ended up getting a lifetime contract out of it. I didn't think nothing of it. Up until about what was it, 9 o'clock? They started
8:30, 9 o'clock.
things
Called
started
me.
things started happening behind the scenes, and Bob Holt, which I think he's an editor at the Arkansas Gazette, Democrat Gazette. He had put out a piece that Kentucky was in contact, or no, Arkansas was in contact with Coach John Calipari, and that he had notified Kentucky about the opening. Well, from there, it just kind of just got caught by wildfire by the media. Um, Matt Norlander was going after it. Jeff Goodman was hitting on it.
Manta.
Yeah, and when you start getting those guys involved, now there's a little juice behind this. So um, he's officially gone as of tonight.
Is it official?
It's official. Yes, ESPN just said. I'm not sure on the contract details.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I've already heard. So it's less money than what he's been making at Kentucky.
It's less money. Here's the deal.
5-year deal in the $8 million range a year, and he's been making about 8.6.
Let's see here
from Kentucky.
They said that the contract. Let's see, Calipari's contract is expected to have an overall base salary of slightly less than the $8.5 million he's making at Kentucky.
Yeah.
The contract is expected to be completed in the next 24 hours. The key relationship to help the deal come together was his long-standing relationship with John Tyson, that is Tyson Foods. So it's a done deal. Now, I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are about all this. Don't get me wrong. I have not liked the last 4 years of John Calipari, but I was willing to give him one more year to figure it out. I was, because I thought, hey, we had
one more year. My one more year was this year.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I felt like one more year maybe would have sufficed. But here's where I think all this transpired. I don't think Calipari realized how much. I don't think Calipari really knew how much heat that he was on under the fan base. I knew he probably knew that he was under a lot of heat, but he didn't realize the heat that he was really truly under. But if I know Calipari, this kind of move that he made is usually not one he makes to Arkansas. It come out of left field. See, here's where I have a problem. And I was telling somebody this today. You know, the whole sit down with Mitch Barnhart, what was it, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
No, maybe a week ago.
It might have been a week. It might have been a week ago. Calipari didn't look comfortable in that meeting. If you watched that meeting, he did not look comfortable whatsoever.
Nope. He didn't even talk much. Calipari didn't.
He never said much. And I felt like from there, I feel like that I don't know what was said behind the scenes. I don't know what Calipari or Mitch Barnhart had said, but I feel like Mitch Barnhart had told him just from me is that he had total control of this program and that he was going to be watchful of what was happening around the program and what was happening with the NIL and such. And I don't think Calipari really liked that idea. And he wanted to run things his way. And I think the moment he knew that he had an escape plan and an exit plan, he was going to run.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think.
And that's what he did.
I think Calipari has had one foot out the door for a while now.
I agree with you on that one too. So
I think Calipari has had one foot out the door for a while now. I mean, let's go back. Before this tournament even started, okay, and they were talking to him after Selection Sunday, and Cal he didn't even act like he cared.
It was a weird interview.
Oakland spent that whole week trash talking Kentucky, and you didn't hear a word from Calipari or from the players. They didn't play like they were fired up about it. I think that he was checked out before this season ever ended.
Yeah,
and I think that's what happened to this team.
And I think even before this year, I think he was checked out last year too, because there were some things that went on last year that was.
He was. Towards the end of the year last year, he was checked out. But I thought this class was going to motivate him. That's what I thought. I thought this great class coming in for this season with the Dillinghams and the Wagners and the Edwards and the Bradshaws and the Reed Shepherds.
And when that didn't work out, he said, you know what? I'm done.
I thought this class was going to motivate him. But to be quite honest with you, as the season went along, he seemed to have less and less and less and less interest. And he didn't even give a crap that a little team from Michigan, that's Oakland, trash talks Kentucky and backs it up. And to be honest with you, he hasn't acted like he's cared. He didn't act like it in the post-game press conference. He didn't act like it on his radio thing that he did afterwards. He didn't act like it with that thing with Mitch. I mean, I think he's had one foot out the door and just looking for a way to exit for a while.
And I'm going to say this too. I think there was a couple instances this year where I was befuddled a little bit. Like, there was a couple instances there where he went, the game was over. He didn't do his radio show.
He quit doing pregame stuff a year or two ago. Like, he don't even do pregame stuff anymore. And I found this out. He's missed 9 radio show this year. He missed 9 of them after the games.
Mm-hmm. And then what really put icing on the cake for me in a way was the way he acted after the Auburn game. Coming in, strutting his stuff to the media, acting like he was big and bad over the media. And to me, that's just not normal of a head coach. That's just not something, a head coach would act like after a win like that. And I think it was just boiling to a point. And I think Calipari just found a way to maneuver this. And usually in these instances where all these things happen all at once, like tonight, usually Calipari shuts that rumor down. He'll shut it down really quick. But the more it kept going,
as soon as they said Calipari is actually in talks, it's over with. He's gone. He wants to be out. I mean, from what I have heard from the Field of 68 guys tonight, that Calipari has said he's been miserable at Kentucky. The fans, aren't on board, and he knows it, and he's been miserable the last couple of years at least. And the truth is, Kentucky is a place that you have to give results to.
You do.
That's the thing. Every year, year in and year out, you have to give results and get results. And to be quite honest with you, it's been a long time. Do you guys realize that Calipari's last NBA lottery pick was De'Aaron Fox?
I got to charge my phone. Hold on.
All right. His last, and everybody talks about how great he sends players to the league and all this stuff. But his last NBA lottery pick was De'Aaron Fox. That was 2017, guys. 2017.
Here's another area angle of this one. It fits both parties. And I say that because Arkansas
it's time, if you ask me.
Arkansas was going through kind of a transition, with Eric Musselman going to USC, and now Kentucky with losing John Calipari. I think both of them felt like, hey, this is a win-win for both sides. And this is a clean slate that can be put on, and that Calipari can start fresh and figure out what he wants to do, and Kentucky can do the same.
Yeah, I mean, we got guys here that are asking, and we're going to get to that too. I just wanted to open the show with Calipari actually leaving. I know that it's going to be a shock to some fans, okay? And there were some fans that were still greatly on board on the Calipari train, and there's a big portion that wasn't, but I get that this is going to be a shock. I think just on the Calipari side of this, I think that it's a pretty telling sign. I'm sorry, Arkansas is a good job. It's a top 15 or top 20 job probably in the country. But Kentucky is every bit a top 5 job, even if we are down right now.
Jason, unfortunately, we're probably going to lose our entire class. Unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll get to all that. I just wanted to throw this in here real quick. So what I'm saying is this is a step down, all right, for Calipari. And the only way you leave Kentucky and have a step down is if you haven't been doing your job lately. And that's the case here. I mean, whether you want to say that or admit it or not, Calipari has not been living up to expectations at Kentucky.
Well,
and
I will add on to that. You've seen in the last 3-4 years, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee. They have all passed Kentucky in terms of.
Nate Oates was at the Final Four, and he's boasting because the SEC is given out 9 trophies since he's been at Alabama, and Alabama has 4 of the 9. You know how many Kentucky has? 1. 1 since he's been there.
And I'm going to say this:
Nate Oates is boasting that he has 4. Tennessee 2, Auburn 2, and Kentucky won.
I'm going to say this as far as the new coach. We'll get to it, but here's where this gets kind of cloudy and maybe sometimes great, all mixed together. Kentucky's been used to these 5-star one-and-done guys, right? Say you bring in a guy like Kelvin Sampson. I'm not saying that's who we're going to bring in. That's not what I'm saying. Say we bring in that kind of player or coach. We're going to get players that are good players. We're not going to get the one-and-dones and the 5-stars. It's going to be like it was with Tubby Smith in a way, like in that regard, with those kind of top players. But that is the kind, just listen.
Maybe.
That's the kind of players, though.
Basketball world's a little different.
But the way the basketball world's, I'm saying, that's the kind of players that are winning in today's game.
I just mean the basketball landscape is a little different now than it was when Tubby.
But what I'm saying,
I think we will have a different caliber player than what Tubby.
But what I'm saying, you don't have to have really great talent to win in today's
players
landscape.
Come back now and used to when Tubby was around. If they had the talent, they left.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in today's landscape,
yeah,
the way things are going, the way the game's adapting, the way players are playing today, you don't have to have all 5 stars and one-and-dones. You can have a bunch of good great
players.
That
you in today's game, you can get 4- and 5-star players to actually stay around for a year or 2 or 3. Other ones do. Look, Zach Edey's.
But what I'm trying to tell you, Brad, is players like in portals, like the Baylor types, the Houston types, you can use that at Kentucky and still win. Is what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah,
you don't have to have all the major.
I'm just trying to tell our viewers there's a difference in the landscape now. You can get a guy like Zach Edey who sticks around 4 years
and still dominate the game.
Yeah, I mean the landscape is completely different now
than
it was back when Tubby was around. Okay, and players like that jump to the NBA.
Let's look at it like this. Look at Dan Hurley. He had Tristan Newton. He came from East Carolina. He had a 5-star freshman in Castle.
Yeah.
Then he got the Cam Spencer kid from Rutgers. And then he had the Diarra kid, which came from Texas A&M.
But he's got Klingon.
And then he got Klingon. Yeah. And you add and you mix those guys together, you can create a really good team.
Right.
And Dan Hurley has already won a national championship, and he's about to play for another one tomorrow night.
He's probably going to win another one tomorrow night unless Zach Edey can keep him from it.
Figure it out.
And crew. And crew.
Well, let's look at if you're going by that, let's look at Matt Painter then. Matt Painter don't recruit all the 5-star one-and-dones. He gets a bunch of guys together, a bunch of good guards like Braden Smith, Zach Edey, the Lance Jones kid. The Lance Jones
picked
kid
up a transfer this year.
He was a transfer from Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
And look what he's doing. He's dominating the championship game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying, Tim. I'm saying a system to recruit, fit in and out every 2-3 years. That's what I'm saying. You can use that in today's game because look at some of the teams in the Final Four. They used that same method and they got to the Final Four.
Yep.
You can do it.
Guys. I'm going to switch it up from the Calipari talk, and we're going to start talking about Kentucky because I don't want to keep this on all night long. But let's talk about players. I think this means that if a new coach comes in and can convince him and show the right kind of system and how they will use him and everything else, is there a slim chance that Reed Sheppard comes back to Kentucky because he's a legacy guy? Maybe. It's slim, but maybe. I think Travis Perry will probably still come to Kentucky. Wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't still want to come to Kentucky.
Here's
where those two guys, if you're talking about players here, I think it's a complete rebuild.
I think losing DJ Wagner, you're losing all those guys, Hugo, whatever. You're losing Boogie Flan. You're losing Jaden Quanitz. You're losing what's the other kid's name that Calipari signed? Billy Richmond.
Yeah.
They're losing him. And
the whole class.
Knox won't be there now. So
yeah.
It changes the dynamics of things.
Because my bet is that Kenny Payne and Brad Calipari will be on staff at Arkansas.
Here's where I'm kind of
I'm just saying.
Here's where I'm kind of iffy on this whole, we got our pants dropped on us tonight, all at once. And it happened so quick. And here's where I have an issue with some of this now from the coaching perspective. The portal's going to close in May. Am I correct?
Yes,
it's in May.
Like May 2nd,
That's
or
what
something
I'm saying.
Like that.
You're going to have to get a coach in here quick.
Yeah.
Like you can't sit around and wait. You're going to make the right hire, get the right candidates, and make a great decision. Because if you don't, you're not going to have a lot of great talent and players coming in next year. Now, if you get a coach from another school and he leaves like Calipari did, we're probably going to get some of his players, most likely. So,
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Man. If we don't lose a coach, if we don't lose anyone,
a guy like Jordan Burke sticks around because you got Kentucky on the front of his chest, maybe. Is there a chance that a guy like Hart sticks around? Maybe. Because you got Kentucky on the front of your chest.
But the star one and done, they're not staying.
They're going. If they're doing anything, they're going to go with Calipari. That's the reason why they came there. Was for Calipari. The Bradshaws, the Wagners. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Kent, you're probably right. Shepherd probably is NBA bound, but I have been told through some channels that they are looking for a top 5 guarantee for him to absolutely stay in the draft. Now,
it's not really a guarantee, but I'll say this on that regard: that this draft, this 2024 draft, is not the greatest. It's a really weak draft. So if Shepherd is going to, go out this year, he needs to go this year, in my opinion.
Kent, I think Travis Perry will stay committed.
I do too. He's a Kentucky kid. I think he's going to stay.
Yeah.
But the rest of the guys, I think they're pretty much gone.
And like I said, maybe a Hart and a Burks, maybe because you do get to wear Kentucky on your chest.
And I'll tell you this much.
And I want a coach that's going to honor and want to worry about the name on the front of the jersey and not the name on the back.
And I'm going to tell you this much on this part of it. Kentucky, the way they run things, the style of play, it's going to be different. It's going to be different than what Calipari brought. But that might be a good thing. It might change some things up, change the way we play. Because if you get a good coach in here, you're going to get the fan base behind them. There's no doubt about it. The fan base is going to get behind them. It's just a matter of getting a coach in here.
Yeah. So all right. We've talked about players. We've talked about Calipari. Now let's talk about everybody wants to talk about the coach. And I'm going to get this out of the way right off the bat. There are some names out there that I know everybody wants to hear, okay? They're not – I don't think most of them are reality names, okay? Mm-hmm. But there are some names out there. Jay Wright, yes, absolutely. He should be given a call. I do not think Jay Wright – he has said it a million times. He got out of coaching because of NIL and all the stuff. He does not want to be back in it. I do not think he will come back, okay? So I'm going to throw that name in and out right off the bat. Let's see. Billy Donovan. He turned us down 3 times. Kentucky fans are going to throw that name out there. I do not think that he is going to want to come to Kentucky and leave Chicago Bulls, okay? I just don't.
No.
I mean,
Well, and the other one too is people think Dan Hurley's coming here, but it's not happening.
listen, I'm going to be honest with you, John. My first call is Dan Hurley. He's dominating the game. He's playing. My first call is Dan Hurley. Before I call Jay Wright, my first call is Dan Hurley. He's the best coach in the game right now. Now, I don't think the Hurleys really like Kentucky too much. So, do I really think that's an option? No, I do not. Mark Few, I'll give you this. Mark Few is a great coach. He has been in Gonzaga for 35 years.
But here's the problem with Few you got. Will he detriment his relationship with Cal by going to Kentucky is the question.
Few has been at Gonzaga 35 years, got his entire college coaching career, 10 years as an assistant and 25 as a coach. He's 61 years old, I believe, if I got his age right, I think. And I just don't see him leaving.
Well,
Brad Stevens is another one that I think is unrealistic. If he was still in the college game, but he's not, and he hasn't been for almost 10 years. He's in the front office of the Boston Celtics.
Okay, let me give you my thoughts on my list. Number one on my list, it might be different from yours. I'm gonna give you
Dan Hurley.
I'm gonna give you
Number
5.
one on my list is Dan Hurley.
I'm gonna give you 5. Okay, 1 would be Dan Hurley. Make him tell you no.
Absolutely.
2, I would go after Nate Oates from Alabama.
He's not 2 in my list, but
he's 2 on mine. Nate Oates can absolutely coach. 3 would be Scott Drew from Baylor. I think Scott Drew can do really good here. I think he's good with the portal. He's good with his players. He's a really good Christian man. He knows how to handle the business, and I think he'd be a really good fit. 4 would be Bruce Pearl from Auburn. And I know people think I'm crazy, but I would call the man right now. He's got it done at Auburn.
Pearl's the same age as Calipari.
Yes, but Pearl's a great coach. And 5, I'm going to throw this one from out of left field, and you're probably going to think
it's a name I've already said.
No, it ain't that one.
Go ahead.
T.J. Ossenberger from Iowa State.
Okay.
I've heard that young. He's young. He's energetic. He knows how to win. And I tell you another name that I would call up, and people might not like it, is Buzz Williams. And people might not like Buzz, but could you imagine what he could do in Lexington though, with the resources?
Buzz, he's a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach.
I don't, but I think he could really do good here. Yeah, Will Wade.
That's my left fielder. That's the name I thought he was going to say is Will Wade. All right. You gave your 5. I'm going to give my 5. All right. The 5 names that I would start with. The first person I'm calling, realistic calls. Okay. I'm not talking about the names I threw out that I don't think is realistic. Realistic calls. Dan Hurley is number 1. Number 2, 2A and 2B. I'm going to say that. 2A and 2B is Scott Drew and Mark Few. That's 1, 2, 3 for me. Okay. Number 4, I think I'm going to throw Tommy Lloyd in at number 4.
Arizona, yeah.
Tommy Lloyd was a longtime assistant under Mark Few. That's where he came from. And he's done a fantastic job recruiting and everything at Arizona and bringing in a lot of good talent. He just has been out west. I don't think he's had the, but he's made the Sweet 16 twice in the last 2 years. A hell of a lot more than Calipari's done. I can tell you that. All right. And I think Tommy Lloyd would be my fourth guy. And I would say Nate Oates is my fifth guy.
I
Nate Oates would be
can
my fifth
can
guy. And my
can
left
I
field, my left field guy is Will Wade. He's young, he's aggressive, and he's motivated. Imagine how motivated he would be to get back in the SEC at Kentucky to whip everybody's ass.
yeah. Ben,
Just
I
imagine.
said his name, TJ Oslenberger. I said his name. I think that's how you say it. But Kent, you have an interesting thing there. Cronin is interesting, but he has a big buyout. I'm not
Nate
sold.
Oates, Nate Oates has a big buyout. Nate Oates' buyout is $18 million.
I'm not a big fan of Mick Cronin, just between me and you. I'm just not a
Yeah,
fan.
I'm not a big fan either. But
So
I would not hire Mick Cronin. I just not at Kentucky. I wouldn't.
no,
But
it's
I wanted to throw out Nate Oates has the most expensive buyout of all these guys. His is $18 million. Scott Drew is only $4.5 million at Baylor.
somebody said Bill Self. I don't see Bill Self leaving Kansas for Kentucky, but
Bill Self's not. He's not leaving Kansas to come to. He's got a blue blood job. He's not leaving. I just
could
don't see that.
you imagine the pissed off Kansas fans if he come to Kentucky?
I mean, I don't see that at all. I just don't see that as an
I don't either. I mean, it's too, you know.
And I mean, if you have to go down to like 6 or 7, I would probably throw Bruce Pearl in there and Chris Beard. Chris Beard made it to a championship game too at Texas Tech. So I mean, he had a little bit of experience.
You know,
Getting
I know
teams and
we're
recruiting
kind of just
at
I know we're just
Texas-
kind of like
Texas
dropping names. I know we're just kind of like dropping names in here, but you know a name that's kind of off the radar that a lot of people need to listen to. I wouldn't call him first or second, but I would call him if it come down to the last few, and if somebody answered, is Bucky McMillan from Sanford.
I seen that earlier, and I thought, well, Bucky Ball's
Bucky
coming to Lexington.
Ball. Listen, here I'm going to make a comment that people need to realize.
No,
The way-
John, no.
The way the college basketball era is building now is a lot of these mid-major coaches and low jobs are getting Power 5 jobs. It's the new age. These older guys are getting out of the game quick. And we're starting to see some of these mid-major guys get jobs. And that's this new landscape of college
I
basketball.
got to address this real quick. Will Wade at least stood his ground and knew what he did. And in today's world, that's not cheating. He can go out and pay somebody in the NIL world, and that's not cheating. And Will Wade is a great coach and a great motivator. And I'm going to tell you right now, he was done dirty because they promised to keep him and everything else. And 2 years later, they fire him over something that they stood by him for 2 years. And I think he would be so motivated to come into Kentucky and to have that job.
Yeah, it's a done deal, Ben. It's a done deal.
Young. I mean,
it's a done deal, Ben.
All right, Chris Vaughn. I got to bring this up because John mentioned his name to me earlier, Calvin Sampson. You're right. He's done a fantastic job. He's done a great job at Houston. But I can't get that job that he did at Indiana out of my head. And all those calls he made and the trouble he made for Indiana and just how terrible of a job that he did at Indiana. I can't get that out of my head for Kelvin Sampson. Mm-hmm. Yes, he's done fantastic at Houston. I will give you that. I'll give him that. But there's just something about Kelvin Sampson for me. I remember what he did in Indiana.
You know what this night reminds me of? It reminds me of the night when Cal was leaving Memphis. Just like all of a sudden, everything was just popping up. Things was happening. And it just seemed like everything was just going haywire. And eventually you got down to it, and it really was happening. And I think that's what we saw tonight. And yes, it's a done deal, Ben. He's officially done. He's officially gone. So
I don't know if it's absolute official, but it's official that he is working on it. The contract details are already out and everything. So
yeah, it's like it's come out on ESPN. Like it's
yeah. Yeah. So I'll give you one other name, and I have thrown out quite a few here, but there's one other name that I think Kentucky fans should consider. And I'm going to put a staff with him because I think this would be fantastic. BYU's coach is Mark Pope, 1996 Kentucky champion, Mark Pope. He's done a fantastic job. He's won like around 104, 110 games there in the last 4 or 5 years at BYU. And if you want to build a Kentucky legacy coaching staff here, if you would have Mark Pope and hire Derek Anderson and Reggie Hansen as the assistants, I'm telling you, these dudes, Reggie Hansen and Derek Anderson, are coaching and been coaching. Reggie Hansen's was an assistant at Kentucky before, a long time ago.
but I'll say this though. Mark Pope wouldn't be my first call, to be honest, though.
No, listen. I said I'm throwing a name out of the left. I mean, definitely not my first call. Okay. I told you my top 5. I even threw in Will Wade, and I threw in Chris Beard and Pearl. So that's 6 and 7. So this would be like 8 down my list. So, but if I was looking at a guy that I wanted somebody to come in and build a family culture at Kentucky, Mark Pope might be my guy.
Is that all we're doing tonight?
Just throwing a name out there. Yep. So let me go through here. Yeah, Rondo would be a great staff guy too for this. I don't know if I want Rondo as
I kind of want to bring up tonight. I'm back with Greenville Sports Media and the Fanboys, and I kind of wanted to thank Brad for allowing this to happen. I've worked my tail off to get back to where I need to be, and I'm coming back to Greenville Sports Media and the Fanboys. And thank you to Jay for all his work for me, for letting this happen, and Brad for being appreciative and talking through and letting me come back on and build my media career in that regard. That ain't the real Mac Jones, I don't think.
Do we have Mac Jones on with us tonight?
If we do, we're living in high cotton tonight, buddy.
I had to put that on there, and I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying, do we have Mac Jones on with us tonight? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But thank you, Brad, for allowing me to come back and do that. I appreciate you. So,
but yeah, man, John. So John's been leading this tonight. He has done a fantastic job. He's not put stuff out there that before we knew it, for real and that kind of stuff. So I got to give a shout out to John. We are giving him put him back on with Greenville Sports Media and with the Fanboys as well. So congrats to John. He's worked hard for it and deserves to be back on. And he's been on the show now with me again for, I don't know, since last July or August or something like that. Yeah, something like that. So, I just wanted to throw that in since you're bringing that up. Yes.
Well, and another thing too, earlier tonight, I told Brad, I said, there's a lot of things going around. I don't know. A lot of it's true. I'm just going to kind of sit back and just let it ride. But when Bob Holt from the Arkansas Gazette wrote something,
Yeah.
I said, this is real. Because Bob Holt is one of the best writers in the business when it comes to Arkansas sports. And usually when that's the case, there's usually something going on. And so.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not in the business to just put rumors out. So we try to sit back and wait for something real.
Well, and I was the one that wanted us to do this show because I felt like we need an emergency meeting pod because, stuff like this is big in sports, and somebody put on there tonight said, this is why we want to take hold of the national championship game now that Calipari's gone to Arkansas. Like it's going to be a really good. So as a Kentucky fan, just hope he likes Tyson chicken really good.
Well, apparently he likes chicken because he orders it when he goes to Malone's.
Yeah.
Or Jeff Ruby's. What was it? Jeff Ruby's? It's Jeff Ruby's, wasn't
it? And people don't realize him and the owner, the president of Tyson, are really good friends too. So this might have a lot to do with it too.
Listen, I'm going to end this show like this. Calipari had a great 8-9 year run here. The last 5 have been subpar at best. At best. And, he was at his 8 or 9 year run was up there with Rupp and Patino. I mean, it really was. But unfortunately,
I kind of want to say something too. I just, everybody kind of thinks I'm anti-Cal, and I'm really not. I was just upset over the last couple of years in the standards of Kentucky basketball, and things needed to change. Whether that was a coaching change, whether that was roster construction, whatever. But I will say this: I want to say thank you to Calipari for all that he done for this program, all the fundraising with the tornado victims, the flooding victims. He done a really good job with that. From off the field, off the court to on the court. Nobody can deny that he loved those kids. He loved them to the end of the world. But sometimes things happen and things have to change in order for things to get better.
That's why I put that up here, because Coach Hall was right. About 10 years is about the max, because there's just a shelf life here at Kentucky. And
that's all
you can stretch it to 10, 12, 13, but I'm telling you, the last 5 have been subpar at best.
I will say this.
8 to 10 was really great.
I'll say this on behalf of Cal. From 09, the 010 season, to, I'm guessing 15, 16. Well, 16 wasn't a great year with Jamal Murray. They had
17 was pretty great, even though we got beaten at Elite 8. But
it was sort of in the runs of what UConn's having right now, except the championships, in a way. It was in that regard. So great job. So
I actually have heard rumors that Rick Barnes might be retiring, Chris, and I'm not sure. I'm not going to put that. It's just rumors. I don't know, but I did look it up. He actually turned 70 years old in July.
That would be something, wouldn't it? Spurring Tennessee to go to Kentucky.
I left him off any list because I had heard that this might be his last run at that he was going to retire at Tennessee.
And I'm going to say this as far as the next couple of days. Whatever you read, do not believe, because a lot of this stuff, people's going to be throwing crap at the walls and hoping it sticks. And you're not going to believe everything that everybody said. Somebody's going to say, well, we're getting ready to hire Jerome Tang. Somebody's called Eric Musselman. It's going to be chaotic the next 3-4 days.
Oh, yeah.
Don't believe
Y'all
everything
get
you
ready
read.
for a rough ride, a bumpy ride the next few days.
It's going to be bumpy, I can tell you. So,
Yep. All right, guys, we've been on for about 45 minutes, and it is after 1 p.m. Eastern time. So we're gonna get off. I appreciate
you're already
that
trembling.
you guys
Brad.
spent time with us.
You're already
Well,
getting.
I actually was looking at this question to somebody because it's funny because somebody in my family actually asked me that question like 2 days ago.
You was already freezing up. I said it's about time for you to leave, man.
Yeah. It was funny because I swear somebody in my family asked me that question like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I appreciate everybody coming on. How many viewers do we have tonight? I didn't even get to see.
Close to 30, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah. All right, guys. We will see you guys on Tuesday night. We're going to have our next show on Tuesday night.
Should be interesting, y'all.
Yeah. So we'll give you some updates then. Y'all have a good night.
Good night.